Some people asked us why a product has to look good if it performs well. Well, our question is, why can't it be both? And how do we make it both perform well and look great? Hey, it's James from Active, and today we have our design director, JC, with us, and we're going to talk on a couple points as it relates to product design, product performance, how we choose between the two, or do we have to choose between the two, and then take you into some of the details around the product itself, some of the design, performance, cost choices we made to help explain kind of why the product ends up the way it is. The first topic is really design versus performance, and how do we choose, or do we need to choose between the two? I think design is something that we care a lot about. Really, one of the things about Active that is different than in our other businesses is that this is really our stuff. We don't have to build the product to fit a certain performance or retail architecture, right? We're really trying to design something based on what we think is best, based on consumer feedback, and then of course, try to make it look good, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's many cases which we'll get into where the actual priority of engineering ended up benefiting the design, because we said, well, we need to achieve extra cooling or venting. Correct. And it resulted in greater stability or what have you. And then that was a very visible feature. If you look at the history of, all the great products, of course they need to work, but it's the form is an important piece as well.
Good design enhances performance, as you were saying.
Yeah, sure.
I think good design, design itself is always going to be subjective, right? But I'm pretty sure what we try to do is very intentional towards a certain purpose. Functional characteristics, performance, usability, and of course, kind of the cherry on top is it looks cool, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
A second topic is really, how does design improve the user experience? Now, I think another essential part of design is that, or essential part of user experience is not just how the product functions, because, that's one element of why people buy our product. I think there's another element of why people buy the product, because they like to buy products that make them feel good, that they like to see on their wall. And that's where design and aesthetics and even story are important, right? So I think one of the good things about doing a video like this is to really let people in behind the story of how these products were truly intentionally designed, so that people can feel good about why they chose our product over something else, right? They know it wasn't just slapped together. They know when they see it on their garage wall that, again, it was an intentional choice and there was some real thought behind it.
I think when we were tasked to focus on when we decided to focus on the car detailing, it became a direct line to say, well, how do these things need to look and feel? That influence should be really, really there when you look at the product. I mean, we have to cover off the first bits, performance, it has to be delivered at great value. But the feeling, I mean, we all do it. Doesn't matter what we buy. We want to see, if it's something that we really care about, we want to see ourselves reflected in it. I think for some people the garage is a shrine.
Yeah, for sure.
And that we get to be part of that it's really cool.
It is born from passion about the product and wanting and knowing that the product's going to be sitting in people's garages and homes are going to be using it.
Yeah.
And I think what we're trying to do is to build that story around Active so that people can be part of that story. Another topic is, how do the designs of our product manifest in terms of a functional capability, or how do the different elements of design improve function, right? So I think we can start by talking about the 2.3 case redesign. We've had a lot of feedback around the 2.3, whether the cage was necessary, the fins on the motor, the fins on the case. Yeah, talk a bit about how you arrived at the 2.3.
Yeah, there's been some interest in talking about how the fins line up and they spend all this time lining up the fins. We needed to increase the heat dissipation. So it acts like a heat sink, extra fins, and it helps cool the whole unit down. And it enhances the 5-piston pump.
In the design of the product, there had to be a retooling of the motor for our specific application. Now, in most cases, I would say brands and manufacturers don't get to be involved in that level of detail because, again, most people are buying off-the-shelf components or they're going and just modifying some things. Because we had an opportunity from the ground up, it was part of the process to line up the fins. I mean, why wouldn't you do it if you had the chance to? Because we were opening new tooling and designs anyway. That's kind of an example of, again, having original intent and then just having these elements come together and allowing us to do some neat stuff as it relates to design. Now, I think the same thing can be said of the 2.0. I think there's a plastic piece in the front that looks like it's venting, correct?
Well, it is venting. There were two things that we needed. We needed to increase the venting, maintain a minimum surface area that's allowing air to come in and out. And then as well, we needed to stabilize the unit. It was tipping forward when we would turn it on. There's a section on the 2.0, you can see it here, under the pump, and that's both a vent and a stabilizing leg. Yeah, we could have just put a peg leg in there.
The last example is the foam cannon, right? And how much tinkering and work has gone into that. And again, take us through some of the design choices that were actually driven by functional benefits.
I mean, a lot. Like you and I went through many early prototypes, even before we started to do these kind of chats about it. But it was, understanding how people are using it, how they're going to pick the bottle up, how they're going to add the chemicals in, how they're going to make sure the ratios are right. All of that. There were a lot of examples on the market of how this was done well and not so well. Once we got it, it was pretty much a straight line to say, okay, stability, let's try to make it in a kind of a tripod shape. It's very efficient that way.
And again, there's always going to be various use cases that we can't anticipate, and nobody gets every design decision correct. But at least we do try to be thoughtful around this whole user experience, and we do try to be disciplined around not designing for design's sake.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to maintain a certain level of humility as well, that like, okay, I'm not just going to apply this sort of design language to something in a way that doesn't further the user experience, product. I have to be mindful of, like you said, the business investment in any product. It can be huge, and you better be delivering performance or, back off.
But saying all that, we still get it wrong all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Everything we're trying to do with the best of intention, for sure. So thanks everybody for taking the time to watch this video. If you like what you saw or found it interesting, please share this video, add a comment, subscribe. We really appreciate all of your feedback, and we look forward to hearing from more of you. And thanks again for your time.